This is the Momma Fit Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to all those mamas out there that want to fit a workout in a day, or want to fit in a moment of bliss, or hey, you want to fit into those skinny jeans. Dana Dieters is the host of Momma Fit Podcast. She's a mother of two beautiful girls, a wife, and entrepreneur. Her passion became her profession when she had a wake-up call about 15 years ago. With the support of others and a positive attitude, she was able to overcome the hurdles in her life. This mama strives to wake up and conquer each day to make it better than the day before. Her passion for business and education to others is what drives this mama to be the best version of Momma Fit. With Dana's background, she hopes to help you with your business, health and fitness needs, family time in the kitchen, and give you motivation and inspiration to tackle your day. And most importantly, to help you fit in your Momma Fit time.
Welcome back to the Momma Fit Podcast. We are on the part 2 of Being Celiac. So if you caught my last episode of Being Celiac, this is part 2. So basically the first one was kind of describing my symptoms, my journey of figuring out what I actually had. And this part 2, is all about what it looks like living with celiac disease and how to give you great tips on how to make it easier on you. Because I know for a fact when I first started my journey of living a gluten-free life, it was very frustrating. Granted, it was in 2005 when I first started, and I feel like things are really coming out for gluten-free food and things just seem a lot more easier as far as seeing the label. Most of the time they have gluten-free on the product now, so it makes it a lot easier when we're actually looking at the label and finding out what food to eat. I will say, even to this day, I do feel a little anxious when I go to a social gathering or even a party or out to eat, because I don't know if things have been gluten-free or not, or what are people going to think if I bring my own food, because personally, I don't really trust a lot of people making my food as far as knowing you cannot have cross-contamination. That is like the biggest thing that I've learned, that if I get cross-contaminated with any kind of gluten, I will be sick for 3 days. And people don't understand that. And it gets frustrating where people still think like, I bring my food because I don't want to eat your food because it's not healthy or whatever else it is that they have in their own mind. I still get people thinking I have an eating disorder because of the fact that I bring my own food. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to have the poops. Okay, guys? But seriously, no one realizes what kind of symptoms you can get, and it's always the bad ones when you get gluten. So I know for a fact when I do get gluten, and most of the people around me do too. So gas, bloating, and diarrhea, or the other way, constipation. It can be anything that can deal with your gut. It's basically that. So the first part of this episode, I really want to just go through the education part as far as what we need to do and how to make this a lot easier on you. So some of the things that I have heard in the past is, why can't you just eat something like once in a while? Well, that's just impossible if you have celiac disease. If you are just gluten-free, like you're on a diet like my husband does, he doesn't actually have celiac disease, but he does gluten-free, which is very helpful for someone that lives with a celiac, because then you don't have as much gluten in the house. Again, that's that cross-contamination thing. He feels better without having gluten in his system, but he is not celiac related. It is just a choice of what he does. And that can be kind of annoying. I'm not going to lie, when I go to restaurants now and I have to make sure they know I have celiac disease. It's not a diet. It is a celiac disease, an autoimmune disease that I can get really sick from if I get gluten at all. So when I first started with my gluten-free living, because I had to, there was a lot of things that were very confusing. So starting off, I had a list And I'll say a small list because at that time there wasn't a lot of stuff. So I basically had to throw away a lot of food. And it was really depressing. I knew there was a lot of things that I loved to eat that I could not no longer eat anymore. So I had to focus on all the things that I could eat rather than the few things I can't, because again, that's important when it comes to keeping this nutritional diet and following through on it. And this is just like anything else. You just got to focus on the cans and not the can'ts. Also, you have to become an expert at reading labels. And for me, learning the art of gluten-free baking has been the best way for me to feel as normal as possible, especially when you're transitioning into that gluten-free lifestyle. I have made everything from protein bars, protein snacks, dinners, all kinds of different ideas as far as making meals that you would enjoy if you were eating the real thing. On my website at danadietersfitness.com, you can go there for free. It has got tons of recipes. I will link it in this podcast episode, and you can go there and check it out. Another thing when you get that awesome news, not really, when you have celiac, is to make sure that you know what kind of high quality nutritional supplements you need to take. Sometimes going to a doctor might not know exactly what to take because they might not know everything as far as the sensitivity goes in celiac. So maybe going to an actual gut specialist might be a good idea. Also, some things I do is I go to an EDS testing person and they will electronically go through my system and see what kind of products that I'm lacking. And I will get on one of the best quality nutritional supplements that they have. And I've felt a lot better. Sometimes it changes too. So if you feel like you are finally feeling good, but then now you have other symptoms, that's totally part of the game here, guys. You have to always be on top of what you're feeling like and knowing what you need to do as far as feeling better. So this is an autoimmune disease. This isn't just a diet that you have to go on. Your body is compromised. Your immune system is compromised with this celiac disease. Another thing, when you are buying your stuff, be prepared to pay about $6 for a loaf of crappy bread. And if you love bread, you might feel like you need to put in the toaster because it tastes like styrofoam. Not even kidding, you guys. So if you love bread, just beware and allow yourself to be disappointed in that situation. So I don't even really buy bread that much unless I'm really craving it. And I have one bread that I will use, and you can find it at Target or any kind of frozen food section area called Canyon Bakehouse. It has either 7-grain bread or a white bread. So there's two choices. At Target, they actually have them in their like produce section area if you're trying to find it. Otherwise, you can find them in most places that are, selling any kind of bread. Or a supermarket, it probably will be in their frozen section in the organic department is what I'm assuming. I know when I first started out, I kind of just bought things that had the gluten-free label on it because I didn't really know what I could eat. So make sure when you first start out, focus on eating more naturally gluten-free food as possible. So more of the fruits and vegetables and potatoes and gluten-free rice. So something very plain. It might be plain at first, then you can add your seasoning in. You guys, you'll get used to what you can do. Most of Mrs. Dash is gluten-free. Again, you always want to look it up. So when I'm at the store, I literally am Googling things while I'm shopping and making sure I'm going to the right source. And it is very important for you to discover how sensitive you actually are to gluten and respect your own boundaries. So everyone is completely different. Some people just have pain in their legs, like tingling, sharp pain. Me, I get everything. Like I get the canker sores in the mouth. I will be so tired for weeks and fatigue. I will have gut ache, gas, bloating. Those are my first reactions, are my gut. And then I'm basically like comatose for a while. So I really don't have a really high tolerance for gluten at all. So I really have to keep it in mind as far as what I need to do to keep myself safe. One big thing is eliminate gluten altogether right away, cold turkey. You need to take that stress off your digestive system right away. There are other things that you can do to help heal the damage gluten has done for over the years. And I'm a huge, huge advocate of doing fermented foods and probiotics, prebiotics, everything I can do to basically improve my digestive health. And just realize no matter how careful you are, you will accidentally consume gluten from a time to time period. And if you're anything like me, you will get very sick and you'll be sick for days. And you'll realize also eating out can be very tricky, but you can make it happen. There are some places that I will eat at, and one is Outback Steakhouse because they have a gluten-free menu and they really take gluten-free celiac disease very seriously. Other ones that would be on my list would be P.F. Chang's, Ruby Tuesday, Boulder Tap House. There is many other restaurants around. All you have to do is find the website. It's called Find Me Gluten Free, and it will find you all different restaurants that are around you with awesome reviews of other people that have celiac disease. So you can actually find out what they ate, what they loved, what they did right, what they didn't do right. So if there's a place that says gluten free, but they don't do it right, that's another great website to go to. I will link that one in my episode as well. It's called Find Me Gluten Free. Now, if you go to someone's house or maybe a party or a church function, most often those are the challenging situations that we have to deal with, especially for food allergies, because no matter how hard people try, they often don't understand what gluten-free means. Some people will say, like, can you eat eggs? I'm like, that's not even part of my, that's like a chicken from an egg to, no, it's not. If you don't know for sure, then I wouldn't risk it. So that's the thing. I always bring my own food and always be prepared and be okay about not caring about it, because most hosts are very appreciative because they don't want to have that stress if you get sick. And don't be worried about asking questions, whether you're at someone's house or a party or at a restaurant. Keep in mind that you are the only person that suffers if there's a mistake with your order. So you have to protect yourself. And be very patient with your friends and family. They don't always understand you, and that is completely okay. My mom is starting to get really good at gluten-free food, and I will tell you, and she has to be good because my dad is a newly diagnosed with celiac disease, which can be alarming for a lot of people because once you're older, you think you're in the clear, but actually can come up at any time. And you might have even had experiences with it already, but it just didn't flare. And when you first start out, just because you're gluten-free, it doesn't mean your whole family must be gluten-free 100% of the time. I will say it is really nice when that happens, but most of the meals I prepare are gluten-free, and most of all my baked goods are also. So if someone wants to eat it, they can. If they don't, that's fine too. But my family still consumes plenty of gluten. So I try to do my best about trying to keep those crumbs and little pieces out of my way. Sometimes I wear gloves when I'm preparing sandwiches for my kids. So there are some things that you can do, or just really wash your hands, because you can't really even touch it either, which is really frustrating. So really good cleaning of the hands is great. So some resources and guides that would be good for gluten-free living. If you don't have a friend that also has celiac or a family member, I was very, very lucky when I first got diagnosed. I had someone that worked out at the gym with me that would give me so much good advice, and it was awesome. And I still go back to him once in a while, and it's so reassuring knowing you have someone that understands you. But if you don't have anyone, some great books is The First Year Living Gluten-Free or The G-Free Diet. Those two are really good ones as well. There's some magazines, Living Without Gluten-Free and more. Or, of course, I have a cookbook out there. It's called Gluten-Free Momma Fit. And I have tons of great recipes in there as well that are not on my website, but it's kind of nice to have a cookbook in hand. So there you go. You can find that also in the link below of this episode. So there's also tons of super talented gluten-free bloggers out there. And check out Pinterest. That's a big one too. I use I get some ideas off there, and then I kind of make my own curveball. I'll even take like an actual real recipe with whole wheat stuff and just sub it out and put in my gluten-free ingredients. I love trying to keep my glycemic index low with my food. So I try not to eat a lot of the gluten-free flours. So I will do a lot of almond flour. I will do oat flour. I will do green banana flour. I have so many different kinds of flours I use, and they all work just as fine. Last but not least, going gluten-free is not the simple thing you will ever do, but it's well worth the effort and you are going to feel amazing. It's taught me to respect my body, protect my body, and do what I can to rebuild my body inside. Thank you again for listening. Let me know if you need anything else that deals with gluten, and head over to danadietersfitness.com.
Thanks so much for spending your time with the Momma Fit Podcast. Dana is so happy to share her tips and tricks with you. If you loved this podcast, we'd be so happy if you could share this episode with your friends and family. Also, if you have time, please leave us a review of your honest thoughts and reflections of the podcast on iTunes or our app. We'd be so grateful. If you have any topic or suggestion that you want answered, leave those in the comments below and make sure that you fit in your Momma Fit time.